She's just a housewife. She hasn't earned $1 in 20 years. Brian said it loud enough for me to hear. He leaned back in his courtroom chair, smirking at his lawyer like they were sharing a private joke. His lawyer chuckled and shuffled his papers like I wasn't even worth the ink. I sat frozen across the aisle, gripping my purse so tight my knuckles turned white. The judge entered. Everyone rose. Her eyes landed on me. She paused, squinted slightly. Brian whispered to his Aunt Karen, who sat beside him. "This'll be over in 10 minutes." My heart pounded. There was something familiar about the judge's face, but I couldn't place it. Something tugged at the edges of my memory, but it wouldn't come clear. My name is Rebecca. I'm 52 years old, and I was sitting in a courtroom, fighting my own stepson for the home I'd lived in for 18 years. I know how that sounds. Stepmother versus stepson. It sounds like a soap opera, like I'm the villain. But let me tell you how I got here. I married David when his son Brian was 11. David was a widower, overwhelmed, grieving, trying to run a business and raise a boy who still had nightmares about losing his mother. I was a high school English teacher back then. I loved my job. I was good at it. But David needed help. Brian needed stability. So I left my career and became a stay-at-home mom. Not because I had to, because I wanted to. I helped Brian with his homework, attended every one of his soccer games, packed his lunches, sat with him during those nightmares, taught him how to write a college essay, how to drive, how to make his mom's favorite recipe so he wouldn't forget her. David used to say, "You're the glue, Becca. We'd fall apart without you." I wasn't flashy. I didn't ask for credit. I just wanted a stable, loving family. Then David died. Sudden heart attack. 6 months ago. His will was fair. The house went to me. A trust fund went to Brian. Equal, respectful. Exactly what David wanted. But Brian wanted it all. He contested the will. His Aunt Karen backed him. They hired a lawyer. And suddenly, I was the enemy. I'd been a homemaker for 2 decades. No recent pay stubs, no job title, no proof of contribution. And now I was sitting in a courtroom, being told I hadn't earned anything. If you've ever been dismissed because you didn't fit someone's definition of success, drop your location in the comments. I read everyone. You're not invisible. It started 2 weeks after David's funeral. I was in his office, sorting through paperwork. Photos covered the desk. Me and David on our wedding day. Brian's high school graduation. Vacations we took as a family. I was crying. I won't pretend I wasn't. Then I heard the front door open. I wasn't expecting anyone. I wiped my face and went downstairs. Brian stood in the entryway. Karen was with him, and a man in a suit I didn't recognize. "Brian?" I said. "I didn't know you were coming." "We need to talk about the house," Brian said. His tone was cold, flat. I blinked. "What about it? Can we sit down?" the man in the suit asked. He didn't smile. "Of course," I said. "Let me make some tea." "We don't need tea," Karen interrupted. I stopped, looked at her. She didn't meet my eyes. We sat at the dining room table, the one David and I had picked out together. The man in the suit introduced himself as Mr. Feldman. He placed a stack of documents in front of me. "We're contesting the will," he said simply. I stared at him. "What?" Brian leaned forward. "Rebecca, my dad wasn't thinking clearly toward the end. You know that." "No," I said. My voice shook. "I don't know that. He was perfectly clear. He left you everything." Brian cut in. "The house, the savings, and I get a trust fund like I'm some kid." "You get a very generous trust fund," I said. "Your father wanted you secure. He wanted both of us." "David built this house with his own money," Karen said. Her voice was sharp. "Before you ever came along." I turned to her. "I know that. I never said, "You didn't work," Brian said. "You didn't contribute. You were just there." The word "just" hit me like a slap. I tried to steady my voice. "I raised you, Brian. I was there when You're not my mother," he said. His eyes were cold. "You never were." The room went silent. Karen smirked. "This is a business matter, Rebecca. Emotion won't win in court." Mr. Feldman slid a paper across the table. "You've been served." Then they stood. And they left. I sat there alone, shaking. I looked around the house. The paint color I'd chosen, the garden I'd planted, the bookshelf David and I built together one rainy weekend, and I thought, I'm going to lose all of this. That's when I saw it. Tucked inside one of David's old cookbooks on the counter, a folded piece of paper. I opened it. It was David's handwriting. "Becca, if anyone ever makes you feel small, show them this." Below that, a list. Every way I'd contributed, emotionally, financially, relationally, how I'd managed the household budget and freed him to grow his business, how I'd saved us thousands by cooking, planning, organizing. At the bottom, "You are brilliant, capable, and irreplaceable. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." I folded it carefully, tucked it into my purse, and I realized I wasn't just fighting for a house. I was fighting for my entire existence to matter. A week before the court date, I ran into Tom at the grocery store. Tom was David's old business partner. We'd had him over for dinner a dozen times. He saw me and froze. "Rebecca," he said. "Hi." "Hi, Tom." He looked uncomfortable, shifted his weight. "You okay?" I asked. Yeah, He paused. "I just came from a family meeting, at Karen's." My stomach dropped. "A family meeting?" He nodded, wouldn't look at me. "I wasn't invited to a family meeting," I said quietly. "I know." He rubbed the back of his neck. "Look, Rebecca, I don't agree with what they're saying, but they're rallying people, showing financials, saying you lived off David and contributed nothing." I felt my face go hot. These are people I cooked for, hosted, celebrated with. "I know," Tom said. He looked miserable. "I'm sorry. I tried calling David's brother that night. He didn't pick up." The next day, I went to the bank. I needed to access a joint account to pay my lawyer. The teller was someone from my old neighborhood. She hesitated when she saw me. "Everything okay?" I asked. She leaned in, whispered, "I heard about the case. It's all over the community Facebook group." My chest tightened. "What?" She looked embarrassed. "Someone posted about it. About you and Brian." I checked my phone in the parking lot. There it was. A post in the neighborhood group. "The stepmother is suing her stepson for the family home." Unbelievable. The comments were brutal. "She's probably been waiting for him to die. Gold diggers are shameless. That poor boy. He's grieving and she's dragging him to court." A former friend from my book club had messaged me. "Is this really necessary? He's grieving." I closed the app. My hands were shaking. Brian and Karen had been controlling the narrative, and I hadn't even known. 2 days before the court date, Brian showed up at the house, alone this time. I almost didn't open the door. "Rebecca," he said. His voice was softer, almost apologetic. "Can we talk?" I let him in. I don't know why. We sat in the living room. "I don't want this to get ugly," he said. "Maybe we can settle." A flicker of hope rose in my chest. "Settle?" He nodded. "You sign over the house. I give you a cash payout. Enough to get an apartment. Start over. It's fair." I stared at him. "Fair?" "Better than dragging this out in court," he said. "Less drama." "What about what your dad wanted?" I asked. His face changed, hardened. "Dad wasn't thinking clearly. At the end," he said, You know that. No, I said. I don't. He stood. You're gonna lose, Rebecca. You have no proof you did anything. I have a career, a lawyer, a real case. He walked to the door. You should take the deal, he said. Then he left, slammed the door behind him. I sat in the dark, crying. But underneath the tears, something else was building. Anger. I'd spent 20 years bending. I didn't know I still knew how to stand. That night, I sat at the kitchen table, pulled out old photo albums, and I found something I'd almost forgotten. A framed certificate. Teacher of the Year, 1998, Lincoln High School. Below it, letters from former students, thanking me, telling me I'd changed their lives. I'd forgotten how much I'd meant to people before I became just a housewife. I'd been respected, loved, known for helping kids who were struggling. I left it all willingly. But that didn't erase who I was. What Brian didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I wasn't just someone who stayed home. I was someone who built people up, and I had 2 decades of proof. I pulled out David's note again, read it slowly. Then I pulled out my own records. Years of volunteer work, financial planning I'd done for the household, spreadsheets showing how I'd managed everything so David could grow his business. I emailed it all to my lawyer, Linda. It was 11 at night. She responded immediately. This is good. Bring everything tomorrow. I didn't sleep much, but I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Resolve. I didn't know yet that the fight wouldn't just be won with papers. It would be won with something I couldn't plan for. The morning of the court date, I met Linda outside the courthouse. She was sharp, mid-40s, no nonsense. They're going to try to make you look passive and dependent, she said. Don't let them rattle you. I nodded, clutched my folder tight. Inside, I saw Brian, Karen, Mr. Feldman, all dressed impeccably, confident. Karen sneered as I walked past. Nice blouse. Goodwill? I didn't answer, but my hands trembled. Linda leaned close. Let them be smug. Confidence isn't the same as truth. We sat. Brian's team presented first. Mr. Feldman painted David as a self-made man. Brian as the rightful heir. Me as a nice woman who provided companionship but no tangible value. He used phrases like domestic presence and emotional support, with dismissive air quotes. I felt myself shrinking. Then Brian took the stand. She never worked, he said. Never contributed financially. She wasn't part of the original family. His voice cracked with fake emotion. I just want what my dad built. She didn't build it. Karen nodded from the gallery, dabbed fake tears. During recess, Linda pulled me aside. You're doing fine. When you take the stand, just tell the truth. I overheard Brian in the hallway, laughing with his lawyer. She's got nothing, he said. This is a done deal. My anger solidified into clarity. Back in the courtroom, the judge reviewed documents silently. She was a woman in her early 50s, composed, sharp-eyed. She glanced at me, twice, her brow furrowed slightly like she was trying to remember something. Linda called me to the stand. I spoke about my role, my sacrifices, my love for Brian, my partnership with David. Brian's lawyer objected, repeatedly, trying to fluster me. But I kept going. When I finished, my voice was steady. The judge leaned forward slightly. "One moment, please," she said. She looked directly at me. "Forgive me, but did you teach at Lincoln High School?" The courtroom went silent. I blinked, stunned. "Yes, Your Honor, I did. From 1995 to 2004. Her face softened, just barely. "Ms. Holloway's English class, senior year, 1999. My heart stopped. I searched her face. "You told me I could write my way out of anything," she said quietly. "You helped me apply to college when no one else believed I could. Tears sprang to my eyes. Angela Murphy. She nodded. I went by Angie then. I became Angela Lawson. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Brian's face drained of color. Judge Lawson regained her composure. Professional. I'll recuse myself if there's any concern of bias, she said. Mr. Feldman stumbled. No, Your Honor, that won't be… She cut him off. Good. Because my personal respect for Ms. Halloway doesn't change the facts of this case, but it does remind me that contribution takes many forms. She looked at Brian. Her expression was ice. I've reviewed the financials, she said. Ms. Halloway managed the household, raised you, and allowed your father's business to thrive. That is partnership. Brian tried to speak. His lawyer stopped him. The will is clear, Judge Lawson continued. Your father wanted Ms. Halloway to have security. You've provided no evidence of coercion or manipulation. She held up David's handwritten note, the one Linda had submitted. This letter from your father details exactly why he made this decision. It's thorough, heartfelt, and legally sound. Her voice turned icy. You've dragged a woman who raised you into court, humiliated her publicly, dismissed her value because she didn't earn a paycheck. That tells me more about your character than hers. Brian's jaw clenched. Karen looked furious. The will stands, Judge Lawson said. Ms. Halloway retains full ownership of the family home. Court dismissed. The gavel slammed. I sat frozen, tears streaming down my face. Linda squeezed my hand. You did it. As we left, Judge Lawson approached me in the hallway. Privately. Ms. Halloway, she said quietly. I meant what I said. You changed my life. I'm sorry you had to fight for what was already yours. I hugged her, whispered, Thank you, Angie. Brian stormed past. Wouldn't look at me. Karen hissed as she walked by. This isn't over. I turned. My voice was calm, clear. Yes, Karen, it is. For the first time in months, I felt like myself again. Not just a housewife, not just a stepmother, just Rebecca. 1 month later, I was repainting the living room. Windows open, music playing. I'd made peace with the house, with David's memory, with my choices. A letter came in the mail. No return address. I opened it. I'm sorry. I was angry and scared. I don't expect forgiveness. But you deserved better. Brian. I folded it, placed it in a drawer. I didn't reply, but I didn't throw it away either. I'd started volunteering at the local community center, tutoring kids in English, using my teaching skills again. A former student messaged me on Facebook. Not the judge, someone else. I heard what happened. I'm so glad you won. You were always stronger than you knew. I smiled. I planted new flowers in the garden, a mix of David's favorites and my own. I didn't need Brian's apology to move on. I didn't need the court's validation to know my worth. But I won't lie. It felt good. Felt to be seen. I sat on the porch with tea. Watched the sunset. For once, their silence didn't hurt me. It freed me. If you've ever been told you don't matter because your work wasn't seen or your sacrifices weren't measured in dollars, I need you to know something. You matter. Where are you watching from? Drop your location below. I always check, and I love seeing how far these stories reach. And if you've ever had to stand up to family who underestimated you, share your story in the comments. You'd be surprised how many people need to hear it. Hit subscribe if you believe that strength isn't just about winning. It's about knowing who you are when everyone else forgets. Thank you for being here. Your story matters. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.